Hello everyone. Welcome to the wasmCloud community meeting for Wednesday, July 3rd. We have a special community meeting today. I mean, every community meeting is special, yada yada. But today, what we're going to be doing, if I can share, in addition to pretty much our regularly scheduled items like going through an issue of the week and a doc of the week, we've got some huge news. And we are also going to be going through the roadmap planning for wasmCloud quarter three. And so I have a little bit of a spiel I'd like to do about that. I'd like to talk about the quarter two roadmap planning that we did. But just to get it out of the way, because why save this until the very end? This PR, this very cool PR, just merged into the TinyGo org on GitHub, which includes WASI Preview 2 support for TinyGo. So TinyGo, if you haven't used the tool chain, takes Go code and compiles it generally to targets that are meant a little more for embedded devices, but you can use it just like instead of saying Go build, you use TinyGo build. And TinyGo has had really good WebAssembly support for a while, and this is a huge step in the right direction of having Go programs compiled directly to WebAssembly components. So we have a new blog that I would recommend checking out if you're interested in learning a little bit more here about compiling some Go directly to a component. The example in this repo is a pure Go repository, doesn't know anything about WebAssembly at all. It's called GoJQ, and you can go directly into this. There's an example a little bit further. You can clone the repo from upstream. You can build it using the target WASI P2, and then you can run that WebAssembly component directly in WasmTime and do some JQ stuff. So this is really, really awesome. I want to give a huge round of applause to everybody involved in this PR. You can see it's been going on for many months. It has 12 contributors here in this pull request, many people in the TinyGo community, the maintainers, and possibly even the creators of TinyGo, right? And our very own Bailey is in here. Joe Mosaka, who is in here, he works at Microsoft, but he's written the capability provider for wasmCloud. We have Jordan Rash in here, who is our resident gopher, and we always tease him about Rust. Everybody in here. This is such a huge milestone to land this directly into the Go language, the TinyGo language toolchain. So it's all really exciting stuff. I probably, normally I do community updates at the end of the call, but I just wanted to start with that because this is huge. Do folks have any questions about this? I think I've got one thing to include a little bit later, but I'll pause. Nice. All right. Well, actually, let me remind me about this if I don't mention anything about it when we're doing our roadmap planning. But I have some good things here. So this is huge news on the WebAssembly component side, and looking forward to adding support to that to wasmCloud. So moving on from that, everybody who is used to dark mode and all that, shield your eyes, the sun is coming out. We are going to do our quarter three roadmap planning for wasmCloud. So actually, I'll give you a little bit more time. Oh no, I'm sorry. Nope, you don't get it. You don't get it. Um, a little bit more about what we did. So on May the 1st of this year, we did a community meeting where we planned out the quarter two 2024 roadmap for wasmCloud. And the goal was to just get an official list of things on a GitHub project, something that is out in the open that outlines the priorities of the project for these 2 months. I'm loosely tagging this milestone. I loosely tagged this milestone as wasmCloud 1.1. I think that's exactly how it's going to work out as we wrap up some of the features here. We'll release them as a part of wasmCloud 1.1. And I think we're going to I'd like to propose that we do the same thing for quarter three. So everybody's welcome to chime in here if you'd like. Here's the warning for light mode. Um, but I wanted to share a couple of numbers, a couple of analytics around the what we did in quarter two. So if you take a look, this is the original roadmap that we planned, and I went ahead and added some color to it. Everything here under the quarter two roadmap that we brainstormed that is outlined in green, we've completed, we've merged. This is released in wasmCloud. It's great. Everything outlined in yellow, we've started on. So updating provider configuration at runtime, the Wash App dev workflow, application sharing components, implementing WASI key value, where is secret support? Okay, this one should probably be yellow. These are all the things that we've started on. So I think that these are great candidates for just kind of rolling over into the next roadmap. They'll get done kind of first. Anything in black, we've, kind of talked about. Maybe we've done like a little bit towards it, but we haven't really gotten to start it on the Wasm Cloud side. And then the red ones I wanted to call out specifically as there not being any movement. So, like for example, the spike on the TypeScript provider SDK. I think we did great work on the Golang provider SDK and implementations. But there really hasn't been any investigation into the items in red or any movement in the items in red. And so the reason why I want to do this color coding as we look at quarter three is I think that the things in red we should not carry over to our next roadmap. I think that if we go a couple of months and we said, hey, this thing would be great, but there hasn't been really a need for it, then we don't need to capture it on the roadmap. It doesn't mean I'm going to close the issue. It just means I think it can be done quote, at any time instead of prioritize over the next 3 months. Do folks have any questions or suggestions around this loose prioritization that I went through? Cool. So you may be looking at this roadmap and thinking, we could only get done like 10 things in 2 whole months in a whole quarter. What are we even doing? We're moving so slow. So I captured a couple of numbers to talk about this. In which, to be fair, our quarter two roadmap planning, we released the roadmap on May the 1st. So we missed a whole month of our quarter two. We completed 13 of the 29 things that we wanted to do on the roadmap, and we completed 17, or we started 17 of the 29. Now you may look at that and, granted, we take 1 month off of it. This is our first planning, insert agile excuse here. Over the last 2 months, we merged 260 PRs and closed 67 issues in the Wasm Cloud repository. That's not even including Wadum or the Wasm Cloud operator. This is just a way of saying we have done a ton of work over the last couple months. So much of it has come from the community. And so I just want to say, one, I really appreciate everybody's work that you've been doing here, whether this issue was a short-lived, bug or something that's been around for months. We've had a ton of movement. We've done a ton over the last 2 months. And I don't want to narrow the view of like what we're doing just to a predetermined roadmap. I just want it to capture the high level things that we are trying to work towards in Wasm Cloud. So as we look forward, previously we allocated 29 items, and I'm not going to get into sizing or, like sprint points or whatever. That's not how we're doing planning here. This is more like an observability thing. As we look forward at quarter three, I want to take from July to September, a true quarter of time to take on maybe 20 high-level roadmap items onto our GitHub project. And as we get to completing these items, my goal as a maintainer of Wasm Cloud is I want 10 of them to be closed out by a community contributor. And what I mean is somebody who's not currently on the Wasm Cloud maintainers list. I know that we are picking up tickets quickly. We are solving issues fast. When it comes to the roadmap, the reason why I want to do the planning in the community meeting is so that everybody can have a voice And I got some really great feedback. I believe it was from last week's community call that on the maintainer side, we can do a better job of specking out issues and things to fix for community members to take it, because we have seen there are a lot of willing contributors. So when we get to the end here, I want at least half of our roadmap items to be closed by people who are coming to take things. And that means that they shouldn't be anything too huge. They should be well defined. And if we can get at least 80% of the way there, that would make me very, very happy. I don't really, oh, what's the right way to say this? I don't care about any specific formal structure for this. I just really like the idea of doing some planning and getting some high level things that we want on the board, because there's a lot of great conversation in Slack and lots of cool ideas. So let me go ahead and share this link again in the chat. I've got a couple of items that I would like to suggest that we throw onto our quarter 3 roadmap. I want to treat this pretty much just like sticky, sticky notes that we throw on the board. And then everything else from there, I can take after the call to try to identify any dependent issues, and we can get this on for our quarter 3 roadmap. So folks, please feel free to, what I personally do when creating these, I'm just kind of sticking them off to the left, is copying and pasting an existing thing and saying, wasmCloud rewritten in Lua. That's something that somebody could suggest and say is super important. We may not take that one. Why don't I get that one out of here? But that is what I would love for everybody who is watching or on the call to do. If you have something that you'd like to see captured in the quarter 3 roadmap for wasmCloud. So I'm going to take a quick pause. Does anybody have any questions? Cool. Great. Well, everybody, feel free to throw on some tickets here if you just want to throw it maybe at the bottom of the list. I'm going to talk through some of the things that either I think we should. Well, why don't we talk about what we should probably bring over from our quarter 2 roadmap first? I think that updating provider configuration at runtime, pluggable secrets management, the Wash app dev workflow, the sharing of a component or provider between WADM manifests, and implementing WASI key value, watch, and batch should all make it into this quarter 3 roadmap. We've started on all of these, so it's tickets that we either are working on the contributor or maintainer side, and I think they're very important. We just kind of ran out of time in our allotted quarter. Alas, time marches on. Does anybody have opposition to move bringing this over? It shall be done. Okay, so all of these are items that we currently have in progress. Like I said, I'm not looking to do any strict ordering or organization here, but I think it'd be great to move those over. The rest of these, does anybody disagree with the items that are, just in black or red, that we should capture them as a part of our quarter 3 roadmap? I just attempted to go through and mark a couple of these ahead of time to keep the call easy.
That makes sense to me, Brooks. One of the red ones that I do want to bring over is for test automation for WASI. And the good news is that I think there is a good design built out for this now. It wasn't well scoped before, but now it is, because our friends over at Fastly have an implementation of this working really well for Viceroy unit testing that they have. And we kind of need something very similar to that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very happy to move that over then. I took my finger off of it. We're doing it. Thank you, Bailey, for that information. I didn't know that there was, I tried to put a little red marker in that maybe we haven't done any work on it, but that's great to know that there's ecosystem work happening there too.
To be fair, I learned about it today.
Nice. Such is life in the WASM world. Do other folks have things in the on the Q2 roadmap that they think we should bring over and capture as a priority for the next few months?
We got to do the 0 to 12. And we say we, I'm like, gosh, I should have done the 0 to 12. I'm sorry, team. I let us down.
We got to do it, and uh, I don't think we should make it a part of the roadmap. I think we should do it.
Okay, I'm good with that. It's not
Okay.
really a roadmappy thing if only one person's gonna probably knock it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Victor.
What about the updating provider config at runtime?
Yes, for sure. I think that's important. I did bring that over as a part of like our, work that's kind of in progress. I think that that one in particular is possible to land before 1.1 or in 1.1. I think it would be great if it did. So, going into this box doesn't mean it has to go into 1.2 or 1.3. Yeah. All right. Of course, as a continuing reminder, the things that stay on the Q2 roadmap or that are not moving over, it does not mean that we're not going to do it. Doesn't mean that it won't get done in the next quarter. It just means that it's not something that we're going to be. I personally, when I'm looking for things to work on in wasmCloud, what needs to get done next, I go to the roadmap, I see what's captured there. And I would love for everybody to feel empowered to do that too, and know if they're taking something off the roadmap, then it's something that's important. It's something that's, well scoped, etc. All right.
Oh,
Uh,
hey, Brooks.
yeah.
Sorry, the new WASM OCI artifact type that feels like is that stuff basically just not going to get done? We think possibly by Q3. It seems pretty important. If we keep.
Yeah, we did complete the work for the new WASM OCI artifact type, which is great. Like the way that we store components in registries now is the new artifact type. Um, we wanted to store capability providers, like each individual binary is a different layer, and pull down those layers in OCI according to that OCI artifact spec. But we didn't go anywhere with it. I don't think, I think we know about the benefits there. Um, but I don't think we did anything to it, and I don't think that it's really blocking anything on it. Put another way, it doesn't enable any use case other than, efficiency for the roadmap. I do have a ticket related to that though, which is this one. And so just to draw an arrow and I'll remove it or whatever later, which I think would be really useful and really great to get done in Q3. Which is, well, I can talk about it now. These are unordered, which is storing the resolved WIT alongside our capability providers. So every single component, whether you have it locally or you have it in an OCI registry, you can use, WASM tools component WIT or you can use wash inspect with the WIT flag to take a look at the WIT that you use to build that component. You can't do that with providers now, and I think it would be great if you could. We have all this power from being able to know everything that a component's going to do when it comes to its interface function calls. I think it would be great to do that for providers as well. That would uh, that would generally be really, really nice to have for, our linking process. We could verify that a source and a target actually conform to that interface. We loosely did this before with wasmCloud contracts. Providers would implement a contract, and now it's a little more, it's very much WIT based. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I'm talking myself into it. I think we should do this one. I'm seeing some movement in the chat as well. Um, oh, okay. Um, let's see. Taylor, I know you were talking about this a little bit. Do you think that we would end up just storing the providers as artifact layers when we get to doing this one, or do you think they're still pretty separate?
Yeah, what I want to actually do, so there's a kind of dual problem here. What I want to do is I want to store each individual layer as its own like thing. So you know you can pick out which one you want to do. And I'd probably reuse the same config type that we use inside of the WASM artifact, so that we can like just have some similarity there. And then yeah, each layer would be like we'd probably have some sort of standard. So that's easy enough to do, but we also have to have like a representation on disk for somebody who wants to run this as a file. So we'll have to decide like which I know there's some standard like image layer export stuff that's out there. So we're just gonna have to see like which one we want to use there and have the tarball be the right thing, that would replace the current Parcheesi file.
Okay. Um, that sounds good. And I think that there's probably more information that we need to put on this to get a link to it actually. Taylor, do you think we should bring this onto the quarter 3 roadmap? The changing the artifact representation?
I mean, it depends on how much people want it. For sure I want to have the resolved width. That can be done with the current Parcheesi stuff. The representation as an OCI artifact could wait theoretically in terms of throughput. If somebody would like to take that on in the community, like I'd be more than happy to help shepherd that along. I don't know if like I will get to it or not. Um, and if I don't get to it, there's probably not another maintainer who's going to get to it right now.
Okay. Um, let's do it. Let's draw like a dependency arrow. These aren't strict dependencies, but I think this would be a better ordering. And then if we get over the limit that the soft limit or whatever that we've set for it, like you can already see in the chat that Masood has said that if there's a design laid out, and something that we put together, then he would be very welcome to do it. Um, so I think it'd be a good thing as a good stretch goal. Sweet. Also, sorry, I realize that my color choices are very non-colorblind friendly, so I can choose I'll choose oranges and blues next time, just in case. Okay, I think that would be great. Moving through, I wanna walk through the list that I kind of put together over here on the left. That taking a look at the issues that are filed in wasmCloud, taking a look at other things that we've built. I think it would be great to include these on our roadmap. Taylor recently put out an RFC for a built-in HTTP server for wasmCloud. And I think that built-ins is something that we already support it for things like WASI logging for generating random numbers, or actually most of like the CLI piece of the WASI CLI world. I think a built-in HTTP server with functionality kind of akin to WASM time serve would be really, really nice for one of the I think it would be really nice as one of the most used contracts in wasmCloud to have something that automatically works out of the box for you when you start a component on wasmCloud. There's been some really good discussion on, and you can check out the linked issue around the potential benefits and the downsides of this proposal. I think specifically Roman and Taylor have talked back and forth on what this means. I think that some pieces we still should solve around, if you have two hosts that are running the same component, how do we unify what URL they're listening on, etc. But I think that regardless, as one of the most commonly used component, one of the commonly used providers, having a built-in option, no, you can still override it with another HTTP server provider would be really nice, especially for some high throughput examples where having everything built in, being able to just hand the HTTP request right to the component would be really nice. I saw there was a question, but is there anybody think we should not take that on the roadmap? Great. If you're still grokking it, feel free to raise your hand later and everything. There was a
There was
question.
a question on the live stream, Brooks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll answer that out loud. I didn't know it was a question from YouTube. Someone asked a question on there about if for the providers, if we were storing an artifact as each layer. Yeah, the current plan is to store each layer as a different OS artifact, um, so that we can basically select based on that. It might not work that way. We might have to like store it as like the image manifest, like where you can when you have like a multi-architecture image manifest. I haven't looked enough into it. I'm trying to just abuse the fact that there's multiple layers and then use that as the way to identify which layer belongs to which operating system. So yeah, that's the plan right now. Because it's just nice to store it that way for things that so they don't have to download the whole shebang like they do right now.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you, Taylor, for adding the context there. We'll make sure to get that captured in the actual issue that specifies what we wanted to change here. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and keep moving down this list. About halfway through the call here, but we're doing pretty well. I think our quarter two, roadmap planning took a little while. So we do have the Wash App Dev workflow already brought over. I guess this is a little bit of a duplicate, but let me link this. What I think would be great before or essentially as a prerequisite to the Wash App Dev workflow would be wash build debug compilation support. This is something that we may have for components, but we don't currently have for providers. And as I started kind of rapidly iterating on some of the Rust providers that we've been working on, now that Wash Build has support both for Rust and Go, I noticed that compilation time started to take quite a while. Part of it, I think, is an artifact of how we build binaries in our wasmCloud monorepo. So there's some things to look at on the Rust side there. But I think it would be really great if we can have wash build support debug binaries while we're doing kind of the rapid developer iteration loop. This one is already captured as a good first issue in wasmCloud. And I think it's essentially, it's not, it doesn't have to be, but would be a nice prerequisite to the Wash App Dev workflow, which as a TLDR there should be something that is hot reloading, building when you have changes. And if we can add debug compilation support, here, let me specify this for providers and components, so to make sure we have that all the way out, then I think it would be great to that would go a little quicker. So that's great. So I propose we move this one on. I think that this is a prerequisite to getting the Wash App Dev workflow done, or it's something that would make it a lot better. Right. In addition to that, we did have another issue. I don't know where, I haven't done all the links here. I did not know that you could link Excalidraw like blocks to URLs. So instead of just pasting a picture on the wasmcloud.com site with the roadmap after we do this planning, I want to actually publish this Excalidraw library as something that's public and read only so that folks can come on here, take a look at the roadmap and the dependencies, and then click in on the actual issue. I think that'd be pretty cool. We'll figure out the right level of interaction between GitHub and Excalidraw there too. So moving on, Wash Up currently takes a wasmCloud version and a Wadum version as command line arguments or like or environment variables when you run Wash Up. Right now, it's very strict. It's something like, run wasmCloud version 1.0.4, and Wash will take a look at that GitHub release, download it, and run it. And I think this works really well in terms of releasing Wash and knowing that if you download Wash 0.29.2, you're always running the same version of wasmCloud and Wadum, and we don't have to worry about breaking changes coming in and changing the interaction there. I think that as a maturity in our current level of maturity as a project, we are adhering to Semver well with Wadum and with wasmCloud, that WashUp it should always be able to download patch releases, like newer patch releases of these projects, and be able to run them with, essentially kind of like a cargo update style of updating. The use case that we saw for this when we released wasmCloud, or when we released Wash 0.29, which is the most recent minor release of Wash, there was a bug in the Wadum binary, right? So what we had to do is go into Wadum, fix Wadum, and then we had to release a new patch version of Wadum, update the version in wasmCloud that was the default, and then release a new patch version of Wash. I think that that is one too many steps for getting a patch release out of wasmCloud or Wadum. And I think it would be great if WashUp just had something, we could disable this with a command line flag, but had something that would look and see if there was a patch release of wasmCloud or Wadum that it could download and run on the next run. This is something that we already have captured in an issue. I think with a little bit more detail, it could be a good first issue. And I think it would be a great piece that, we actually had something on our previous roadmap about release automation for Wash. I think it would be really, really nice to be able to push out new updates to wasmCloud and Wadum without having to go through a whole step of updating Wash as well. Does anybody feel strongly about this one or the design behind auto updating for patch releases? Really, I think that this just puts the burden on the maintainer, being us, to not release breaking changes in patch versions, which is already something we're very conscious about. So I don't see any risk. I really only feel like it helps us deliver fixes quicker. Alrighty. Famous last words. Yep. Yeah. You can link me to 37 minutes into this community call. I don't see any risk. Where could this go wrong? I do think it's important for us to be able to disable this. Maybe this could be something that's opt-in, right? A dash auto update, something like that. Could be a good opportunity. There's still some plenty of room for discussion on how we actually implement this. Basically, I just want an easy way to deliver patch versions. Cool. Moving down the line here, with the wasmCloud Kubernetes operator, it has been really interesting to see some more Kubernetes use cases popping up, running wasmCloud on Kubernetes. I think the operator has done a really great job of easily getting wasmCloud to deploy, and then we use the Nats Helm chart as well to deploy a Nats cluster. We're using a Wadum Helm chart to deploy Wadum. It all feels really, really nice on the infrastructure provisioning side once you get past, the local wash up workflow. Now, what I think would be great, and I know that there are many potential potholes to run into here. I think it would be great to provide on the wasmCloud documentation some recommendations for common infrastructure providers for provisioning wasmCloud. So use case that we went through a little bit earlier this week or last week was provisioning a Kubernetes cluster on EKS using EKSETL with the correct, what is it called? Plugins, extras, or whatever it is, in order to deploy wasmCloud on an EKS instance. I think that every cloud is different. I think that trying to write Terraform or something, I think we can do a pretty good job with Terraform and Cloud Init for doing a general wasmCloud deploy. But I think that in general, what I want to capture with this script is being able to, or with this ticket, is being able to provide some recommendations and requirements for infrastructure. Um, I am fine with scoping this to essentially scoping this to Kubernetes. I think it belongs as a part of the wasmCloud operator, at least, because the containers literally, but the containers that we distribute in order for running wasmCloud are very customizable. It's a wasmCloud container and a Wadum container. So just picking some specific use case like deploying on Kubernetes on some of the major cloud providers, I think would be really nice to have some either out of the box scripts or templates that people can work from. And this applies essentially as soon as you get past running washup. So I want to be really clear about what you need to run wasmCloud in the cloud. Yeah, Masood, go ahead.
This is easy to do if the target is Kubernetes. If you want to do that per cloud provider, then it needs to be broken down because that would be too many to account for variations. But Kubernetes will be easy. I can even do that. One other improvement that probably kind of goes hand in hand is improvements to the Helm chart. Deploying everything separately instead of using the Helm capabilities around dependencies. I mean, if you use dependencies, then it would be much easier to just deploy wasmCloud, and then it's going to deploy NATS and WADM as dependencies. So because, gosh, I forgot, my apologies. Our Kubernetes SME that has joined your team. I wasn't sure if he's doing that. I didn't propose it before, but I'm saying that that's something that I can do. I can do both of them.
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds great. What I'm really looking for with the Kubernetes piece is to constrain this because I think like you said, it would just take too much effort and time and not really be worth it to try to do this on every single cloud. But breaking this down into what the Kubernetes cluster needs, I think would be great. Um, and Masood, I also heard I captured this as you were talking, so I want to make sure that I heard you right or correctly. Is essentially using Helm has I believe it's Helm template. I might be wrong. Helm has functionality to break down a Helm chart into the Kubernetes resources that you actually need to apply. And I think it could be valuable to provide an example of how to do that so that Helm is a pretty widespread tool, and it could be great to do that with our Helm charts to show here's exactly all of the resources that you need in Kubernetes. Is that kind of what you were getting at?
So instead of guidance, it could be an improvement to the wasmCloud Helm chart, and I can implement that improvement, which basically ties all three Helm charts together.
Oh, bringing together the wasmCloud, the Wadum, and the
Yeah,
NATS Helm chart.
right.
Okay. And in bringing them all together, is the goal to make it like the installation process simpler, or is it
Exactly.
more? Yeah. Okay. Let's maybe refactor this a little bit to talk about. I think that sounds. See, is Jonas on the call? I think it sounds great. Let's maybe refactor this a little bit into something like um, consolidate on cloud operator charts. I want to work on the wording a little bit here. essentially for simple guided deploys. Is this
Brooks.
they call this like a wasmCloud all-in-one chart? Yeah, Lachlan, sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly what Jonas just said. He's on the YouTube channel. So he said he'd love for someone to be able to contribute the wasmCloud all-in-one chart.
Sweet. Masood, I'll kind of
Yeah,
whatever
that's fine to me.
metaphor is, but that would be great.
I can do the TF1 too.
Okay. Yeah, let's make sure that these are coming out of the road mapping session. I will make sure that all of these tickets, essentially what I did last time is make sure that all of these correspond to an issue that's in GitHub and linked to the wasmCloud. It'll be 1.2 milestone. We'll make sure we get enough information in each of them to properly tag them and get them done. So a great suggestion, Masood. Thank you so much for talking about that, because I think that this will be a great, a one-step Helm deploy for wasmCloud would be great. Okay. Let's keep moving down the list, because I know that we have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. We've taken 12, so we got a little more room for some things, but I want to make sure we respect everybody's time and get through during the community meeting today. This one has technically already been started, but to give everybody a little bit of background, when releasing wasmCloud 1.0, using resources in custom interfaces was out of scope. There are some complexities there. We all, as on the wasmCloud side, have varying opinions on the use of resources. Resources in custom interfaces are always going to be a little trickier, and I won't say always, but are likely going to require a lot of thinking around performance. And I think that it's important to support them. I think that many WASI contracts that are going to be developed outside of the wasmCloud ecosystem use resources. And it would be great to have this support for custom interfaces that use resources. This primarily depends on the WRPC implementation, supporting both transmitting or representing resources on the wire. Thank you, Apple. And WRPC bindgen support for generating resources on the WRPC side, so for capability providers for us. But I believe that support is now there and has landed in WRPC. So it's time to take a look at implementing that. Luke on the wasmCloud side, if I'm not incorrect, has essentially done this in the wasmCloud hosts, which is really sweet. I think that there's a lot of design decisions that we had to talk through on that PR. So it's getting split up and everything. Thank you so much for Luke and Roman for working back and forth on such a big change. But this is definitely a priority for Q3 for wasmCloud to really support running all different use cases for WebAssembly out of the box. Moving on, I have a little bit of a chore. This doesn't even really need to be on the Q3 roadmap, but there is a specific aspect of it that I think warrants it being here, which is removing every merge release of providers / wasmCloud / wash. We've talked about this actually both from the environmental impact, but well, I can't say more importantly, but an important aspect of this is that when you go to look and find the latest version of a capability provider, often in GitHub packages, you'll see a total list of commit hashes. And I think that what we really want is for people to hit the provider page and be able to see, oh, latest HTTP server is 0.21.0, and I want to grab that and use that in my WADM manifest. So I think this would be a great improvement to make. I think it would reduce our, well, CI impact. And I think that it'll increase discoverability of capability providers. So, well, I'm just going to move it over in the aspect there in the interest of time. But as we keep moving forward, just anybody raise your hand if you have questions or comments about what we're working on. This is already an issue that's open as well. Oh, I linked it. Nice. I think that this came up in the wasmCloud Slack the other day. Masood, I think it was actually you who wanted to call a capability provider using a complex, aka any data type using wash call. Was that you, right? I'm not misremembering.
Yeah, that's correct. And I should mention that WashCall actually doesn't work currently at all.
Okay, well, let's maybe park that one.
No,
And
no, no, I understand. I'm saying that that's something that probably needs to be fixed. So probably that makes sense to
yeah,
bundle them together.
yeah. Yeah, I know that currently, wash call essentially works for any function that takes no parameters and returns a string. It is a very simple implementation, um, uh, simple, very naive implementation.
No, what I mean is that I tested it with the custom provider today,
Mhm.
and it doesn't work.
Okay, well, let's maybe debug that one in Slack. But yeah, okay. I did use it for our custom provider template, but I think it's very possible that I'm holding it, holding it specially because I know how it works. But it does sound like that would be a great bug request, Masood. Feel free to put that one in. Um, I have seen the utilities that are in the WRPC repo around invoking things like WASI key value over a WRPC connection. I would love to integrate those into Wash Call. At the very least, if we can do it for a custom interface, that would be great. But at the very least, for our well-known interfaces or specific function types, I think Watchcall has a lot of room to improve there. Roman's not on the call here. When I mentioned this to him as a possibility, he said he's got some design plans from being able to basically introspect a WRPC endpoint. So if we can get something like that across the line, we can just have wash call generically be able to call any endpoint, which would be or to call any function on behalf of the user. So I think this would be really great for debugging. And wash call very much needs to have a little more robust support behind it. HTTP is one that would be really, really nice to make work. Okay, moving on. These are some of the things, all of these kind of relate to wasmCloud or documentation. I have two that I wanted to bring over on the Wadum side because I know that they are important. One, I think it would be great to emit Wadum events on an observable stream. I believe that's technically merged to Wadum, but I think that there's still a little bit more work to validate this, and there's more events to add that are in the linked issue. But the wasmCloud dashboard and the wasmCloud operator both hook into the lattice to listen for events for what's happening in the state of the world. I think if we can really make sure that Wadum is emitting events the same way that wasmCloud emits events, like cloud events, here's what's going on. Our wasmCloud dashboard and our wasmCloud operator would both be able to have more information to on the wasmCloud dashboard side. We can show more information about like if an application is healthy, if a component or provider is healthy. On the wasmCloud operator side, we could use this to create Kubernetes services for when links are established or when a manifest is published, things like that. So I think it definitely deserves a spot on the Q3 roadmap on the prioritization for Wadum. And then I don't want to ask for everybody to raise your hand if you've run into this because I think everybody's going to raise their hand. But right now, when you deploy a Wadum application, essentially the only time that we return a failed status is if you specify a spread saying, I want to run, 20 components on this host that's running in US East 1, and there are no hosts that have the label US East 1. That is a failure state for an application. However, a failure state for an application right now is not something like I specified an OCI ref that's invalid, and so my host can't start my component. That application will actually continue to be in reconciling state as it tries to reach the desired state over and over. And I think that it would be great at least for a subset of common use cases, to be able to represent that as a failed application deployment. When you actually look at, if you technically look at this, that's an external problem to wasmCloud. But in general, I think that deployment errors should be captured as an application status, something that's a little more actionable. Because I think about 50% of the time there's a failure to deploy an application today, you end up having to go look at the wasmCloud logs when this is something that I think we should be able to observe and fix at the WADM level. So that's why I think it deserves a spot. Let's see. This is looking pretty good for our roadmap so far. I am probably going to pick off a couple of other issues or items from Q2 to bring over, some things that I just didn't want to reserve a spot for to meet this about 20 items. But I'm only going to do that after this road mapping session ends, because I don't want to override what people actually want. So we have about 5 minutes left in the call. I already went through the big announcement around TinyGo for today, so I have a document and issue of the week. Those are quick. I would like to do a kind of extended pause here. Please, anybody, if you have something that is not captured on this Q3 roadmap that you think on the wasmCloud side we should keep as a priority to complete over the next 3 months, please raise your hand. I think this is totally open time to throw additional issues on the roadmap. Nice. Long enough. Oh my God. Sorry, Bailey. I did my general strategy is to stay quiet long enough, and I know that Bailey doesn't like the silence, so she would throw something in. But what a troll. So good. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Anyways, so we have 18 of the 20 roadmap items that are on this list. I think that that's close enough. I don't really see a reason to bring anything else onto this board. So what I'm going to do after the call, Liam, you were here the whole time, right? You didn't come off.
No, I was here the whole time. I was just chit-chatting with somebody and they just were teasing that they didn't see me on the call. So I just thought I would just come off video. I've just been hanging out, just listening today. I'm on my cell phone, so it's just didn't want to be too laggy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. I just want to make sure you didn't come off for a thing. Then what I think we can do is, if they neatly fit into the categories of documentation, new features, and improvements, I'll go ahead and stick with the same structure. I think that this worked pretty well for our previous roadmap, and I'll make sure to capture the blocking dependencies here in the actual GitHub issues. But other than that, I think this looks pretty great. We'll make sure that all of these are linked up to current issues, are captured in the GitHub project, and are published on the wasmcloud.com site for our Q3 roadmap. I haven't come up with a fun name or a theme for this roadmap yet, but I'm sure we'll come up with something. Thank you everyone for listening to me spiel for a little while. I think it's great to do this kind of planning with everybody here, because we just get better feedback as we look towards the next quarter. And of course, just to continue to reiterate, these aren't the only things that we're going to be getting done over the next 3 months. As you can see, we get plenty of work done outside of the roadmap. I just want to make sure our high level priorities are captured here. And I'll turn this Excalibur thing into a read-only view so that people can go see, what this looked like at the end too. Yeah, Liam.
Brooks, maybe just two quick shout outs here. The first is that everyone that's watching on YouTube, if you'd ever like to join the Zoom, down at the bottom of the wasmCloud webpage, you'll find a link to the community calendar right there. And if you simply just subscribe to this right here, it's even a Google Calendar. You can subscribe and merge it right into your own Google Calendar. You can join the weekly Zoom meetings. It's all right there. So feel free, if you're watching on another source, like LinkedIn or YouTube, to just hop on the Zoom and hang out and participate in any way you feel necessary. I'd also like to just do one final call out that WasmCon is still open for submissions through this coming Sunday, July the 8th. So still a couple more days to get your submissions in and together. If you need any help, myself and the rest of the team are available on Slack. You can hit us up and we'd be happy to help you dial in a submission or get things going. I know that WebAssembly is really a lot bigger than WasmCon. And if you're considering applying to Kubernetes on Edge or Edge on Kubernetes or Istio Day or any of the other days, submissions for those days are open until July 14th. So you'll have another week past that to get your submissions in for those conferences as well. If you've already submitted for WasmCon, don't worry, your submission still counts. And we're going to be working through those as quick as we can over the next few weeks and trying to get the speaker lineup out as quickly as possible. Thanks, Brooks. That's all I had today.
Yeah, thank you, Liam. I think we should probably do weekly shout outs to WasmCon, at least until the submissions close, just to make sure everybody knows. I know that we're a little past time here, so I'm just going to speed through this last part pretty quick. Of course, there are additional issues or additional information on these, so everybody can take a look on the community meeting agenda. But we have an issue of the week and a doc of the week. The issue of the week is a configuration flag for wasmCloud. We already have a max execution time parameter in the wasmCloud runtime. So, a component can only execute for a certain amount of time before we will stop it. We're preventing infinite loops and resource hogging, noisy neighbors, and all that stuff. And I think it'd be great to configure this on a command line flag, an environment variable. And since wasmCloud 1.1 is coming up, that would be a great little breaking change to backwards compatible new feature breaking change, strict Simber adherence to put into 1.1. Oh, looks like we already have somebody who's on this issue from the community. Nice. Well, this is great. Well, this is a great one to watch because a super cool community member is going to be solving this one in the next couple of weeks and/or days. So, thank you so much, Aditya, for taking this one. Looking forward to seeing that fixed. This is a great first issue to get started on. Moving on from that, the documentation page of the week is our very own ecosystem overview of NATs. So, oh, he's on YouTube and he's almost done? Nice. That's so great. Thank you, Bailey, for relaying that here. I need to get the YouTube one up on the other. Thanks, Aditya. You're the best. The documentation page that I wanted to shout out this week is the NATS ecosystem overview. I don't know exactly who wrote all of the things here, but I know that Eric came in over the last couple of days and added some updates onto this NATS page. And I would highly recommend taking a look. I think that there are two really good updates to keep in mind, and the reason why I'm calling this a doc of the week. One is we are standardizing, we're making sure that we're being very consistent around our use of the word subject or topic when we're talking about NATs and or messaging interfaces. This recently came up as a part of the WASI messaging proposal, which Taylor is spearheading in the wasmCloud space. So this is a great page to read if you've, heard us say subject or topic and wondered what that really means. The TLDR is that we're often calling this, Nats calls them subjects or maybe topics interchangeably, but we're using, or topic is going to be the standard methodology or the standard terminology in WASI messaging. So just keep an eye out for that. This is a great outline there. And if you were looking for more information on how wasmCloud RPC works, we leave this up to some level of magic of just run your component on any wasmCloud host and we'll just automatically round robin that. That is all done through the Nats concept of a queue subscription, and that is a very important concept to understand if you want to know how invocations are routed within wasmCloud. So we have information around the queue subscription and the queue group in Nats, a little nice diagram here. This is a great piece of documentation to take a look at to learn more about how we do RPC with Nats. So super shout out to Eric to adding some of this over the last couple of days, as I know we've been getting increasing questions about our use of Nats. All right, folks. Well, I know that we're over time, so I want to make sure. Well, we started at 1:05. We're fine. We're exactly on time. We did an hour. It was a great hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to the wasmCloud for the Q3 road mapping session. I'll get all of the boxes that we created together into a nicely formatted box, and we'll get that roadmap up. I think we're out of time, so I'm not going to ask for more questions. But thanks everybody for coming this week. Have a great, to everybody in the US, have a great 4th of July holiday tomorrow. And we'll